All right, let's welcome on Carthon to CBS Sports HQ because we're talking overreaction or reality, right? So we're going to kind of go through some of the most dramatic performances, outcomes that we saw here in week one. Make a statement, and you're going to tell us if we're just being bonkers or if this is actually reality, right?
Gladly.
Okay,
Gladly.
Perfect. And we're starting with the Bills. They erased that 15-point deficit in the fourth quarter to come back and win this thing. So we're all saying, like, hey, a Super Bowl looks pretty good for Josh Allen and company. So does Super Bowl 60 run through the Buffalo Bills? Is that an overreaction at this point, or is that actually reality?
I'll say from the AFC standpoint, I say reality.
Okay.
Because the way this team played last night to erase that deficit, it put everyone on notice. Now, granted, the defense did give up 40 points. That is what it is, but they found a way to win the game. That defense came together late and made the plays that they need to. And we know Josh Allen, he put the team on his back and showed why he was the MVP last season, so I'm going to go with reality.
Okay. And then on the flip side of that, we have to talk about the Ravens, right? Because the storylines with them is just never being able to close out or finish those big moments, those big games, which has us thinking, how are they going to be able to turn this around come playoff time, right? Or win a Super Bowl. So the statement here is the Ravens will not win another Super Bowl under Harbaugh. Is that harsh? Or is that maybe some reality?
Now, I'll say this. I went back and forth on this one.
Okay.
But I landed on overreaction.
Okay.
And I say that because this team it's a heavy veteran team. And if any team is positioned to figure out what went wrong and correct it, it's a team that's built the way they're currently built with the amount of veterans they have. And I, for one, am still holding out hope that Lamar will cap off his career with a championship, hopefully in Baltimore. So we'll see. So for now, I will say this is an overreaction, although I kind of went back and forth.
I agree with you. I still feel like Lamar Jackson has it in him, of course. He's a phenomenal football player. And if, to your point, if there's a veteran that can kind of right the wrong, it's Derrick Henry. Like, he's a vet. He's been around. He knows how to kind of move forward and learn from things, right? Let's go to the Dolphins. Boy, oh boy. Where do I start? Because I went to training camp for the Dolphins, right? And the big storyline in the offseason was the secondary, how depleted it is, how hurt they are, and like that was the main thing. Then we come here, week one, and the offense kind of looks a mess as well. We see Tyreek really frustrated. Tua is giving the ball away, 3 turnovers there in the first 4 drives. It's kind of crazy. And head coach Mike McDaniel obviously knows what is going on. Here's what he had to say about that week one performance against the Colts.
I'm not trying to, paint a glossy, I'll call it what it is. It was, embarrassing, not anything that paying fans sign up for.
All right. He's pretty straightforward. It's embarrassing, and it was, right? Mike McDaniel will not last the entire season there with the Dolphins. Is that an overreaction, or is that something we should seriously be considering?
Well, I think based off all the news reports today and after that performance, most people would say this is a reality.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go the other way and say this is an overreaction. And the reason why I say that is because, and we talked about it on a couple of shows that we did earlier, the Dolphins have enough weapons on offense to correct this. And as long as Tua is playing within the framework of the offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devin Achane, they have enough to win and score points. Now, the defense is going to have to stop someone, and we'll see if they can do that. But the other reason why I'm going to say this is an overreaction, Mike McDaniel was just rewarded with a contract extension not too long ago. And so to fire him or get rid of him in the middle of the season doesn't make sense at this point. I think what will end up happening is they'll let the season play out, see how this whole thing takes shape by the end of the season, and then make a determination from there. But I think calling for his job or whomever else's job at this point in the middle of the season, especially after week one, is a bit of an overreaction. Not a bit, a lot of an overreaction.
Yeah, and what about Tyreek Hill, though, right? Because in the offseason, there was a lot of conversation about his relationship with Tua. They kept saying, like, hey, we're building this thing. We're on good terms. It doesn't happen overnight, but we are, repatching our relationship. That's a summary of what was said. And he clearly looked frustrated several times, seemingly unhappy in Miami through several moments of his career there. Do you think Tyreek finishes the season in Miami, or do you think maybe he's a better fit somewhere else?
Well, I think the problem that you're going to have is who's going to take on this contract.
Yeah.
Who's going to take on the contract, and who's going to give the Dolphins the compensation that they will, require to move Tyreek. Here's what I want to say about Tyreek Hill and his displeasure in Miami. Tyreek Hill was also unhappy in Kansas City, and they were winning championships and had the makings of a team that became a dynasty. And he was unhappy there. He comes to Miami and he got what he coveted, which was a big extension, and at one point was the highest paid player at his position. And then now you're unhappy again. So it doesn't matter where you send him or whatever the case may be. Tyreek is just going to be unhappy because in both of those situations, he's the common denominator.
Yeah.
So this is more of a Tyreek Hill problem than I think a Miami Dolphin problem.
Yeah, okay, that's a great perspective because, again, where the Chiefs were when he was there is a very, very different situation than where the Dolphins are right now. Want to talk about the Lions. I think a lot of folks were maybe surprised in that performance against the Packers. They kind of look like a shell of themselves, and they're trying to kind of find their footing with a new, without Ben Johnson, without Aaron Glenn. Do you believe that the Lions Super Bowl window is closed? Is that an overreaction, or is that reality? You're laughing.
I'm laughing because this is an overreaction. The Lions are still a very good football team that are well balanced, and I'm not saying this because I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, but I think this team is still a very good football team. They lost 2 games all of last year in the regular season. They lost 1. You know what this week 1 loss tells me? That they won't go undefeated. That's the only thing it tells me. It doesn't say that their window is closed, they stink, they suck, whatever you want to say. It just shows me that they won't eclipse the 72 Dolphins and be an undefeated team. It's week 1. This new offensive coordinator, this new defensive coordinator, they're going to take time to gel, to get to know what their team is. This isn't the same team that Ben Johnson has. Frank Ragnow isn't there anymore. There are other guys who aren't there anymore that Ben Johnson had at his disposal that new offensive coordinator John Morton doesn't have. So give him time. Pump the brakes, people. It'll be okay.
But hey, that's what passionate fans do after week 1, whether it's one way or the other. It's either we're winning the Super Bowl or fire everybody. It's just the ebbs and flows, right? And we're going to keep it in the division because there is a very exciting NFC North matchup for Monday Night Football with the Vikings and the Bears. So we kind of want to give, I guess, some hypothetical overreactions, right? Because why not? If the Vikings lose, what is the overreaction going to be? If the Bears lose, what's the overreaction going to be? So we'll start with Minnesota. If they lose this ball game in week 1, what is going to be the biggest overreaction, in your opinion?
Well, I think if they lose, the biggest overreaction is going to be that this team is done, right? However, I think if they win, I think J.J. McCarthy is the 6th starting quarterback that Kevin O'Connell has had in his time as head coach. So I think if they win, then KOC will be crowned the greatest quarterback whisperer this league has ever had. That's what I think from the Vikings side. If that happens.
What about Chicago? Because this is going to get crazy. If they come in and win week 1 with Ben Johnson and we see Caleb Williams just go absolutely off, Chicago Bears fans are not going to know what to do with themselves, I feel like.
And I'm going to tie this into what we just talked about with Detroit, right? Everyone knew Ben Johnson in Detroit to be this creative wizard, trick plays, using Dan Skipper as the heavy tight end and get him the ball. So if Chicago wins tonight, then they're going to call Ben Johnson the greatest play caller ever.
After 1 week.
Because if you go back and you tie into Detroit's performance, you didn't have that creativity yesterday, which you could say, arguably, that it left with Ben Johnson, which now means if Ben Johnson wins tonight, then it was all Ben Johnson, and he is indeed the greatest play caller ever.
And what if they lose?
And if they lose, then they're going to say this is the Bears team we thought they were going to be. And now I will say this, and I feel like the makeup of this team, and I've said this numerous times, this is a very, very good coaching staff from top to bottom. And I think and with the moves they've made this offseason, not just the talent level of player they brought in, but the caliber of the man that they brought in. I think this is what the Chicago Bears team and organization has needed. And I picked them to be my sleeper in this division and possibly make the playoffs and fight for that 7th seed just because of the coaching staff, the caliber of coaches they have there, and the caliber of men that they brought in.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what overreaction we're going to get as the Vikings and the Bears face off in Monday Night Football tonight. NFL and CBS, a loaded slate for Week 2. We got the Bills and the Jets, the Broncos and the Colts. It's all going down on Sunday on CBS. We're, of course, streaming on Paramount Plus as well.